it's Betsy, and today we have a fun video. We're going to be testing out the new Adept Cosmetics Ninhydrin palette. And let me tell you, I am so excited to play with this palette. I missed the original pre-order. It sold out so fast, but I was able to get it on the second pre-order. And before I go into all the details about this, I did want to give a huge shout out to Adept because they have some amazing customer service. So whenever I originally ordered this, I accidentally reordered the Plain Jane, which the Plain Jane is an absolutely stunning palette. You can pre-order this as well. And I contacted the owner of Adept and was like, hey, I ordered the wrong thing. I already own the Plain Jane. I know that Ninhydrin is a little bit more expensive. I will gladly pay the difference. I just need to change it. She got me all fixed up, swapped it out, didn't charge me anything extra. So I just wanted to say what amazing customer service I received because, you know, as a small business owner, that's the kind of thing that definitely stands out to me. So this palette retails for $68 and they are doing pre-orders right now. I think that at this point it is for September, but I could be wrong. But when you open her up, she looks like this. So there are two matte shades in here, ACM 31 and ACM 32. And then the rest of the shades, the other 10 shades are their like metallic formula or the ACI formula, which is an amazing, amazing formula. That is what all the shades are in Plain Jane. All the colors in Plain Jane are that ACI formula. And yeah, you can tell, you can see that some of these shades, because you know, I love a good green, I have dug into. I have used this one several times, like 5 or 6 times, which for me, with this big of a palette collection as I have, that should say something, because if I'm willing to keep going back into it, then that means I love it. So this did come in a box. I've already thrown that away. And then I thought that this was a unique thing, that on the little slip that goes inside the palette, it has the ingredients. I was holding it backwards. It also says like how much the palette weighs. It's 12 months shelf life. It is cruelty and vegan, cruelty-free and vegan. Yeah, make sure I'm saying that correct. So we're gonna start off by swatching it, and then we're gonna do some looks. We're gonna do one today, another tomorrow, and then kind of just play and see what we think. So the first shade in here is ACM 31. So that is a matte shade, which I definitely think needs to be built up, and it is building up. So to me, this is like a matte, dusty, kind of dirty purple is definitely what that's reminding me of. It's very pretty. It's soft. It is definitely, as you can see from me swatching it, it is definitely a shade that needs to be built up. Next one is ACD 18, which this is like a beautiful baby pink with a little bit of like a pale yellow shift to it. So pretty. Then we have ACI 18. That is like that rose gold color, and it has some orange underneath, but you see that reflect in it? That is what I love. Then we have ACI 22. That's what she looks like. Isn't that pretty? So, so pretty. And Lauren May Beauty did a beautiful video. I'll try to remember to link it. If not, you can look it up on a comparison of both of these palettes. So then we have ACM 32, which this is like that olivey army green kind of color, that dirty khaki kind of shade, which I love. I love anything that's grungy. Again, the matte needs to be built up some, but it is still, I mean, it feels good, and it did build. Then we have ACI 19. So as you can see on my finger, it definitely pulls purple, but whenever I shift my hand, you can see the green. Yes, there we go. You see how those shift? That is yes, that is why I love these. Then we have ACI 20. This is beautiful. So that one is like a beautiful warm purple to a really bright, almost cerulean blue. Then we have ACI 21. This is like a beautiful navy metallic. Look at that shade. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, let's wipe our fingers off again. So far, so good. And I will tell you that these shadows feel good, just like the other ones did, like from Plain Jane. Next up, we have the shade Ninhydrin. So this is the only shade that has a name, but all of her singles, and you can buy a lot of shades in singles, are named like ACI or yeah. So that makes it a little helpful. To me, that way you're not running into doubles either, like if the names are close. So that one is Ninhydrin. So you can see it's like a gray to a lavender. It's so pretty. Then we have ACI 23. Now I will say that ACI 21 and 23 both have they're not as wet feeling, but they're still ultra metallic. So to me, ACI 23 is definitely a true like royal purple. But between ACI 21 and 23, they are close, but they do have different undertones. Then we have ACI 24. Look at that. See how that shifts from that teal to the burgundy? That is gorgeous. And then last, but certainly not least, anything that's got green in it, is ACI 25. So you can see that it's definitely like a limey green, and then it shifts almost to a blue. So that is the whole color story. I think it is absolutely stunning. Now, do I think that the palette needed the mattes? Not particularly. But, you know, it's a good way to try some of her mattes. And they are working on the codeine palette, which looks phenomenal from the couple of swatches I've seen so far. And if it's the same quality, I will definitely be picking that up, because let me tell you, earlier I was on the Marco Polo with some of my friends, Steven and Rupi, and I swatched the metallic purple that is in the Lila palette from Natasha Denona and ACI 23. They're almost the same color, but this shade was so much more metallic and beautiful that it wasn't even funny. So definitely I think that it is worth, you know, looking at, because to me that is the special stuff that I'm looking for. With the collection like mine, you know, I own everything under the sun. I mean, let's face it, there's not a whole lot of new to be had in eyeshadow anymore. I mean, every color has been there, done that kind of thing. So these I feel like are super unique. And Millie from Bad to the Brow also did a video where because she has a huge eyeshadow, single eyeshadow collection, and she could not find dupes for this in her collection. So hopefully that's kind of helpful. So I think I'm going to go into ACM 23, which is that matte army green first off. I like that it's like a grungier kind of color story. Okay, so as you can see, and I have eyeshadow primer on my eyes. I am using the NARS Budge Proof. I really like that one. It's not my favorite, but I'm trying to use up some of the ones that I have before I open like a new thing of Gerard. So it definitely has more pigmentation on it whenever you apply it to the eye. And it is a buildable color. So that is a nice thing about this, is I can really build up the outer edge on this to make it mimic that I'm using more shadows than I actually am, which is always fun. And the brush I'm using is a BK Beauty 206. But yeah, I will try to link people down below if I remember to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It kind of just depends on the day. Because y'all know I'm busy. Very, very busy. So today is that I'm filming this, but this isn't the day that it's going up, so I don't mind talking about it. Is Stephen Ford, which I do Makeup Magpies with him. He's one of my really good friends on YouTube. We're doing a surprise birthday party for him because it's his 32nd birthday. So this is part of what he bought himself for his birthday, was both of the Adept palettes, because they're so stunning. And the owner seems very, very sweet. Like from what I've dealt with, and my friend Rupi Minhas has talked to her some. So we like that. But that doesn't change my opinion on the makeup. And I paid for this myself. You know, I want to make sure that is very clear that this was not gifted, anything like that. I bought it because I wanted it. That looks really pretty. I think I need to add a little bit more of the matte to this side because I feel like I built the other side up even more. But I love a good grungy color story. Like, to me, there's nothing better, in my opinion. That looks really good. Okay. Now let's get to the fun stuff, because I think I'm going to save the other matte for the next look. I'm going to do like more of a purpley look. Today I'm going to kind of stick more with the grungy kind of colors, because anyone who knows me knows I can stand a good grungy color story. My dog is down here, Stevie. My little dachshund, she's got bad gas. Gotta keep it quiet because if I wake her up, she might jump up and want to love on me. Whew, I love her, but Jiminy Cricket. So I think I'm gonna go into the shade ACI 22. See if this will pick up on my brush. Yep. And start building that up on the outer crease. I have a tickle in my throat, because I figured this would look really good with the green that I want to use out of this palette. And I'm not using glitter glue or anything like that. I'm just trying to see how it applies dry. And it does apply. Let's see if what we do when we apply it wet. Because a lot of times shadows do better when they're wet. It just kind of gives it something to stick to. And if this doesn't go super well, we can always, oh yeah, that's better. We can go for the finger method, but I prefer, like when I'm working with shadows, to definitely keep it to, like, I like to use a brush. That's just my personal preference. This is a beautiful color. I just love the way that the metallics feel from this brand. Plus, I'm all about supporting any little small, I love supporting small businesses. I mean, it's not that I don't support mainstream, it's just I prefer to support small. So you can see that on the eyelids. Very pretty. So I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to go into the shade ACI 25, which is that green. You can definitely see that picking up on the brush. Oh yeah. That's a beautiful color. Beautiful, beautiful color. And as you can see, it layers up to add even more opacity to it, which is definitely nice. So you can definitely see that green in it. Because sometimes, I mean, and y'all know, if you're an eyeshadow aficionado like I am, like I've tried so many different formulas, you know that sometimes like that wet feeling shimmer just doesn't go anywhere. Like it's beautiful, but like when you go to apply it to your eyeballs, you can't really layer it up. You can't add anything to it. So this is not that formula. This is not that formula at all. So, I mean, that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, so we're planning that. Well, it's already planned. Now we got to get everything ready for his party tonight. So we're doing it Zoom since, you know, everything that's going on. Still can't meet in person. But that is one thing that we definitely plan on doing once all this is done, is finally getting to meet in person. But, you know, I'll honestly say I have met some of the best people on YouTube, and like I sit here and talk to them every single day, and you know, you gotta love your family, and that's what it feels like. Okay, so I've got the top of the eyelids done. I'm very happy with how that came out. You see how pretty that is? So you can definitely see the distinction between the two shades. So I'm gonna go off camera, I'm gonna do the rest of my face, and then we'll come back, do the lower lash line. I'm back and I have the rest of my face on. I did use the Honey Waffles. This is one of the cream glosses from Fenty. And then in my waterline, I used the Tom Ford Metallic Moss because I thought that it went really well with this palette. I haven't put on a highlight because I figured I would use something from the palette because I do like to do that. So I think I'm gonna go into that one. Let's look. Looking to see what will work as a highlight. I think I'm gonna use that first shade as a highlight. I think that'll be the prettiest shade, the ACD 18, I think. So this one right here. I'm gonna use that as a highlight, slightly. Kind of buff it in. Look how pretty that is. Like, you see how blinding that is? And it's like a multi-chrome. See, and that's something I like to do, especially if like it doesn't have any base pigment to it. I like to use them as highlights too. Plus that gets you a little bit more use out of it, and it makes your looks cohesive. So like if you're using the same thing all on your face, it makes it more cohesive. So I think what I'm going to do is I need something smudgy to use under the eyes. I'm gonna use this Cleona brush. These don't have anything, but see, it's like a thicker, smudgy kind of brush. And I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is ACI 19, which was that kind of grungy shade. And we're gonna use that underneath the eyes. And see, that's part of what I like about this palette, is that you can use these metallics are soft enough and blendable enough that you can use them like under your eye and stuff like that, because there are some metallics that just don't work like that, you know what I mean? That looks really pretty. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. The quality is super unique. Like, I don't feel like I have a lot of this in my collection, which is a plus because, you know, I don't mind trying new formulas and stuff like that, but I'm gonna use ACI 18 as my inner corner highlight. But I mean, as I said, I don't mind having like repeats, especially if it's a unique formula, but I want something that's different. That's part of, I think, what I always strive for, is I want unique. That's whenever, I think it was at the beginning of 2020, and it may have been the ending of 2019, may have been the beginning of 2019, you know, everything's starting to run together because of everything that's happened. I was getting frustrated with the makeup world, not because I didn't love makeup, but because everything at that point was seeming like a repeat of everything else. So, you know, and now I'm playing with indie brands more, and it doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, now it does feel like I'm getting things that are different. So, I am very, very impressed. Very, very impressed. So, this is look number 1 with an Ninhydrin palette. What do you think? I think it looks really pretty. So, we'll come back tomorrow and do another look. We're gonna do another look with Ninhydrin today. I did prime my eyes with the Natasha Denona eye primer. This is in the shade medium. And we're gonna start off with the other matte shade. So we're gonna use ACM 31, which is like a dusty kind of mauvey purple. It's really pretty. And I'm using a BK Beauty 202. I love these brushes. They are some of my favorite, if not favorite, synthetic bristle brushes. They are good quality and they just blend things out so beautifully. So I cannot complain. So we're just gonna build up this crease a little bit. So you just give it a little kind of dusting of color. And I could have intensified this and used a lighter primer, but you know, sometimes I just wanna even out the tone. I don't want to go super light. I play with a lot of different things. And eye primer is one of them. And the Natasha Denona one is really, really good. I really enjoy it. I wish I would have gotten a lighter shade in it because yes, it evens out my skin tone, but I think that it works best if I'm doing more of a nude look. But when I'm doing like something bright colored, because it's closer to my skin tone, the colors don't look as vibrant. So I wouldn't use this eyeshadow primer with a pastel, only with something like this, or if I'm trying to do like a grungier look. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Pretty good. So now I'm gonna take, this is a BK Beauty 206. We're gonna try to use ACI 23. As like the deepening up color. I know some people don't like to use shimmers in the crease, but I've said it many a times that I really don't mind. See how pretty that looks? I think that it looks pretty, and anytime I can get an extra bit of sparkle, you know, I'm all in for this. And I will probably do 3 looks with this palette. Now the next look I probably won't do the mattes in here because again, there's only 2 mattes. And honestly, their mattes are not bad. I don't want it to sound like that, but I would rather have had a palette full of the special shades, because I have so many mattes in my collection, then, if that makes sense. So I'm just, as you can see, just bringing it into the crease, but not intensifying it too much. See how that makes it more of like a smoky purple? And then you can always build up darker in that outer V, because even, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I always tend to go for smokier, grungier look. It's just more of my aesthetic. Says the girl who's wearing a pastel Care Bear shirt. You know, I can be a little contradictory sometimes. You know, some days I feel like this and some days I don't. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is a Lunar Beauty LB5. I'm going to take some of the Too Faced glitter glue and we're going to prime our lids with this. Now for Ninhydrin and for Plain Jane, and I've used Plain Jane quite a few times as well, I have found that using a glitter glue helps with creasing on it because these shadows are more of a wet formula. I think that I love this formula, but since it's more of a wet formula and on my eyes, since, you know, I'm not 20 anymore, it works better for me to use a glitter glue to keep them from creasing. So now I'm taking the shade Ninhydrin, which is that really pretty purple pinky kind of color, and we're going to apply that all over where I applied that glitter glue. So that's what we're going to do. See how pretty that is? It's so, so pretty. But yeah, these shadows perform so well. You know, sometimes you get shimmers and they look pretty, like when you swatch them or whatever, and then you can't see how pretty they actually look, like on the eyeballs and stuff like that. And I don't feel that way with Adept. And I like that they do give you palette options, because I know a lot of people who love their single eyeshadows. I am not the best about using singles, but man, oh man, will I reach for a palette. So I will always be and have always been more of a palette person. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. See how pretty that is? I think I'm gonna use the same brush and then go into ACI 20, which is that blue that has a little bit more sparkle to it, and just kind of use that to not cover up Ninhydrin, but add to it. Because the ACI, this one right here, ACI 22, like if you look at it, there's not a lot of base pigment to it. So it works better when you place it over another shadow. So you see how much more impact that gives, I guess is the best way to put it. See how much sparklier? And you know, I love a sparkle. Always have, always will. I told the kids, Nadia was joking that because I want to be cremated if I pass away, and she was like, well, put your ashes in an hourglass. And I was like, yes, but if you do that, you've got to mix some sparkle in with it, because I need glitter for the rest of my life. So there we go. See how pretty that is? I am gonna take, where's a little bit smaller brush? Okay, this is a Sigma E53, or yeah, E33. And we're gonna go back into ACI 23 and apply a little bit more of that deeper purple shimmer, just to re-intensify it on the outer edge, since I put all those other colors kind of over it, and I still want there to be some depth. So one thing you can always do, like whenever if you get a little out of hand with your colors on your lid, you can always take and re-add some color back in after you add the shimmers. So I like how this looks. So what I'm gonna do is go off camera, do the rest of my face. We'll come back and do the lower lash line. So I'm back and I have the rest of my face on. So as you can see, you know, we're rocking some purple look. I used the Norns from Odin's Eye. This is one of the highlighters. This is, what shade is this? I can't remember. Veil of the Future. So it's the one that has like the purple in it. They're pretty. It's not my favorite highlighter formula. I use the Moira blush in Soft Berry. And then for lips, I used the Mauve Wives from Fenty Beauty. And I also used my Marc Jacobs, what color is this one? Highliner gel in, I don't know. It's the purple one. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into ACI 21, which is more of that navy blue shade. And I have a Refer number 13, like a tiny little blending brush. And we're going to use that on the lower lash line. I think will be really pretty. So, or at least that's my thought on it. Because I want to do more of like a grungier look for the next one. But I wanted to use these purpley and blue tones that are in here because they're really pretty. But you see what I mean? Like, this is like smoked out perfection. Like, this is the kind of eye look I really dig. So I think I'm going to use ACI 18 as my inner corner. And this is a Zoeva 230 pencil brush. And we're going to apply that to the inner corner. See how that adds some brightness? And even though it is like a pinky shade, it definitely pulls more gold. Or at least that's what I'm seeing on the eyes. And it also depends on the look, like which direction you're looking in. Because like on screen, when you see it, it is pulling more of that soft pink. But when I'm looking at it in the mirror, it is more gold. But all in all, I think it's super duper pretty. I think I'm gonna take my, this is a BK Beauty 108. I'm gonna take just the tiniest little bit of that and add it to my highlight to make it, oh yeah, see how much more beaming that is? Yes, sir. We like a beaming highlight. So that is the completed second look. What do you think? I think it looks super duper pretty. So we'll come back and we'll do another look. So we're gonna do another look with the Ninhydrin palette today because there's a few shades that I haven't used and I really love Adept's formula. So one of the things I'm going to do is I did pull out my Danessa Myricks Color Fix because I want to try and see what those shades look like over a black base. This is the shade Blackout. It's one of the things I ordered from the Sephora sale. And then I also pulled out my Blend Bunny palette because it has lots of mattes in here to see what will work best. So I'm gonna take my tray from Melt and apply a dollop of the Danessa Myricks on here. And we're gonna take just a little bit of the Danessa Myricks and kind of place it on the eyelid. And then just kind of blend out the edges. Because I don't know, I haven't used these before, but my friend Kelly from Keep Beauty Real has. And I want to make sure I'm using these correctly and kind of playing with them because they are like super unique and cool, these Danessa Myricks, and they don't go anywhere from what I've seen. So I'm like, let's test this and see what we can accomplish. Because as I said, I wanted a nice black base. I just don't know how well or how quickly these dry to have the edges dry down and blend out, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of switching between brushes to make sure we have maximum opacity and blendability. But if you're wanting to do like a smoky eye, I think that these are a great way to do it. Or at least in my opinion, they are. So I'm gonna take, this is a Sigma E38, so this is like one of the brushes. I think this one's from the Enchanted palette. I'm gonna go into that charcoal shade called Intuition down here. The Blend Bunny palette to me is a great rainbow palette of mattes to add to your collection. I really enjoy this palette, especially if you're like me and have a lot of palettes that have special shades in it, like the Adept or even like Cleona and stuff like that. So to me, they're good to have around to kind of just add a little bit extra to. And we're just gonna keep doing this and making sure it's nice and blended out, because I want like almost a heavy smoky eye. That makes sense. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my brush again and just apply more of a smooth black layer. And I'm not going to blend this one out. So you see what I'm saying? And now I'm gonna do the same thing over here, but I'm going to blend this out. Because, yeah. So on the eye, once you're starting to start blending it out, it doesn't take long for these shadows to dry, but they do have some malleability if you put them on like a blending tray. I'm happy I got, my husband bought me the PR box from Melt, because I do like this tray to use to blend out eyeshadows on. I wasn't sure how I was going to use it, but I like it for this purpose. It definitely seems to work for me. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just taking, applying and blending, applying and blending. And I bought even more of them. So I'm gonna do another Sephora haul, because I did end up last minute purchasing and doing another Sephora sale haul, because it was like, I wanted to get some more color fixes and a few other things, and I was excited. So you can see how easily that blended together. Now I do feel like I got a little bit harsh. Like I had a smidgen too much of the color fix right in there. But it's kind of like once that's down and dry, you are not getting rid of it. So I like how both eyes look so far. I really do. Now I'm gonna take my blendy brush and we're just going to apply the black more intensely over the eyelid. That's pretty. Very, very pretty. So that's kind of how it looks all together. That spot's driving me nuts. It's okay though. So I like how nice and smoked out this looks. So now we're gonna go into the Ninhydrin palette. So I'm trying to remember what shades I didn't use. So I know I used those for this one and this one and this one. So I think it's those, I used that one. So I think it's just those two. So I think I'm gonna go in with this teal that shifts to purple all over the lid. So I'm gonna use the other side of that Sigma brush. And we're just going to take, oh, that's pretty, and pat that all over the lid. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so I'll show you what this looks like without a black base. So you can see it, but there's not a lot of base pigment, so you see how it kind of shears out. But whenever it's on the eye over that black pigment, oh yeah. So that's where I think like a lot of these Danessa Myricks could come in handy too, because they can make your special shades like what you have in multi-chromes and stuff like that. I think that they could really make stuff like that look super special, in my opinion. But yeah, see, I think that looks really pretty. What do you think? Very, very pretty. Excuse my wrinkly eyelids. You know, I'm no spring chicken anymore. So I am getting older and my eyelids are not as smooth, but I still want to use pretty sparkly shades. There we go. That's really pretty. And see, I just feel like that just completely changed the whole look. Like, hold on. Let me show you. That's not good. Two of my shades. It's okay. They are magnetic, but it's saved. It is saved. And even though, cause see that landed on a blanket, because of how nice and soft these shades are, I just pressed it back down in. Cause Stevie's bed is down there. So I guess that's kind of a good thing that you'll get to see that. So I'm gonna take, where's my brush? I'm going to take just that same ACI 24 and I'll show you. So, okay, that's what it looks like without the base pigment. And then I'll take, I am butterfingers today. Do y'all have days like that? Okay, so that's the black pigment. I'll let that dry. While I do, I'm gonna grab another little blending brush. This is a E33 from Sigma. I need to wash brushes. I haven't this week. And just kind of go over the edges of that multi-chrome or duochrome. Sometimes I get confused on what is multi and what's duo, because some things look like they have more colors, or at least in my opinion they do. That's pretty. So pretty. There we go. Okay, so that's blended out and this is dry. So I'm gonna take and show you what ACI 24 looks like over this, because I think that's kind of important for y'all to see. So I'm just gonna take and pack this on. So you see what I mean? How it just completely changed the look of it. So, see how pretty? I like it both ways. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go off camera, finish the rest of my eye makeup, and, well, not my eye makeup, my face makeup, and then we'll come back and do the lower lash line and talk about my thoughts on the palette. So I'm back and I have the rest of my face on. I'm gonna use this ACI 18. We're gonna dig into that and use that as our highlight today. And this is just a Kaleidos highlighting brush. They have a really good brush. So we shiny. It looks good. Okay, so I need a little brush. Which one am I gonna use? Okay, so I'm gonna use, this is a Sigma Firm Blending Brush. This is an E42. And I'm gonna go into the more navy shade right here. And we're gonna use that under our eyes. And I did line my lower lash line, my waterline, I tight lined with the Urban Decay Zero pencil. Just a good black eyeliner. Some of my favorite eyeliners brands are, I like the 24/7s from Urban Decay. I love the cream gels from ColourPop. Marc Jacobs has a good one, and so does Pat McGrath. So far, those are like my all-time favorites. Oh, and I really like the Tom Ford one I have, but I only have one of those, so it's hard to say what I like about it, you know what I mean? So, there we go. What do you think? I think it looks super pretty. And then I'm gonna take, this is a pencil brush in E30, and we're gonna go into this lightest blue pink cotton candy shade, which is ACI 20. And we're gonna use that in our inner corner to add a little bit of pop of brightness as well. See how pretty that looks? I think it's gorgeous. But yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Ninhydrin. What I have experienced with Ninhydrin has been nothing but great things. I've worn every single shade in here, and I think that this palette is phenomenal. The mattes are really good. There's only 2 of them, but I have a lot of matte palettes that I can use in conjunction with these shades, but so far so good. I'm highly impressed by the quality. I'm happy that I have Ninhydrin. I'm happy that I have Plain Jane. I mean, and you can see I didn't wipe the swatch away, but I mean, it's still, both of them look great. So I would definitely recommend it. I will leave it linked down in the description box down below. I think they are doing pre-orders on it right now. But I guess that's it. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right down below. And if you hit the notification bell icon next to it, that will notify you when I post new videos, which is typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I guess that's it. So we'll see y'all later. Bye.